Before we begin, just want to talk a little bit about the process tonight, how we got to be here. I want to start off by being 100% clear. This organization has not taken any firm position on this, except to say that right now, at this time, it cannot support either of the Queensway or Railway proposals. We have concerns about each proposal and questions, and we intend to keep raising those concerns and asking those questions. We've taken some criticism. I've taken some criticism of this from some different sides. One, recently, about me cozying up with the Queensway people because people saw a picture of me on Facebook at LIRR's Tavern after the last meeting holding a beer in my hand. Folks, I'm at LIRR's Tavern a lot. Also recently, another person, a good friend, sent me an angry email saying I was using this organization to advance the position of a small segment of our community against the Queensway. And so as not to feel left out, I was also on the receiving end of some harsh words from people who want a railway. So since everyone's ticked off at us, I think we're doing this just about right. That being said, I believe there's no segment of any community that's so small that we cannot speak up for it. And we did hold this forum with many of those people in mind, those who were promised a public forum and did not get one. But tonight we welcome all opinions, those in favor, those against, those who want something else. Tonight we want to hear all of the opinions of residents of Woodhaven, and tonight we have some other people, and we'll hear their opinion as well. A few more notes, and then we'll proceed. First of all, as opposed to the last meeting, you'll notice there's no police officers here tonight to offer protection. That's because my wife is in charge of security. So if anyone gets out of line, you're going to have to answer to her. We're going to pull names out of a hat, so if you want to speak, you've got to fill out one of these cards, or we'll just shuffle and take them out. When your name is called, come up to the front, speak into the microphone so everyone can hear you. You'll have 3 minutes to state your case. We're going to let you know ahead of time when your time is almost up. You're going to hear this noise with 30 seconds to go. And then you'll hear this when your time's up. Okay? Yeah, that's, you know what? We're going to ask everyone to be considerate of the next speaker and all the speakers here. When you get to 3 minutes, your time is up. Finish your next sentence and let the next person speak. Those in the audience, please respect each speaker. Let them speak. If you wish to have side conversations, take them out into the hallway, please. And finally, we started this meeting, as we do each meeting, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I hope it'll serve as a reminder that even though we might not all agree on everything, we are all united in our belief that what we want is what's best for our community. There are a lot of people here on different sides of the debate that I know, that I like, that I respect, and I trust that everyone here will proceed with that spirit in mind. With that being said, we're going to start with the first person. Who's going to be lucky number one? I can't read this one. Danny Artali. There we go. 98. Here you go, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dominic Artali. I live on 98th Street, and I'm for green. Whether it's Greenway or the green way it is, that's the way I like it. I want the animals that are there to be there. I want to live happy. I think the Greenway will be clean. I think it'll be better manicured than what it is. And I don't want a train. I really don't want a train in my backyard. Because then I'm going to have to move. And I don't want to move. And I think anybody that's on that block should feel the same way. I see the Greenway in Manhattan, the way it goes, and it's nothing but positivity. Trains will give you headaches. I don't want no headaches. I got enough headaches. And I just want positivity out of this. I just want people to see it the way I see it, and the way other positive people see it. These people here may be for it, they may not be for it. There's other people that are for it, and I think we should keep our minds open with it. That's it.
Thank you. Next. Maria Thompson.
Good evening. In regard to Greenway, we had a meeting with the Woodhaven Business Improvement District and the Greenway representatives, and we were trying to find out what positive effects would come from the Greenway. Number one, for the community, the homeowners, the residents, as well as the avenue, the little small store owners, and what benefit would be brought to them. That's what comprises our community. And we sat and we talked about it. The people that run on the Greenway, or the Queensway that is, they're not going to come to Jamaica Avenue to eat something, okay, or shop. They're there to run, to exercise, and they're not going to do anything for our avenue or our commerce or our economics. As far as the community is concerned and the residents, they'll be running behind people's homes. And the security is not guaranteed because the police can't be everywhere in the precinct. In addition to which, when they keep on running and they run through our community, we're left with the security problems, if there are any. We're left with debris, if there's any. And we're left with everything to clean up after they're finished running. So it's a difficult situation because the railroad has its problems and we don't want a railroad running behind our property. But then again, the Queensway, they'll be running behind our property as well. I feel they should leave Woodhaven out of the whole scheme of things and find a way to work around it. Run into the park instead of it behind our homes. We have a beautiful forest park here. They can make a pathway into the park from Queens Boulevard, run through the park. And then when they have the train, Ed had come out with a great idea, Ed Wendell, in just having the train run to Atlantic Avenue and then go underground where we have the Atlantic Avenue train station for Woodhaven, and run underground to the rest of the way. So leave Woodhaven out of the equation because it's going to do nothing for us. Thank you.
Marion Butura.
Hi, my name is Marion Butora. I am a resident of Forest Park Co-op on 98th Street. It's going to sound pretty redundant after what Marie just said because I feel exactly the same way. She touched on all the points that I feel dear to me as well as far as security. I guess everyone's aware of the rapist at Forest Park. I don't feel it's any more secure than it was before they left. And I just feel if nothing's broke, you don't have to fix it. There's nothing wrong. I agree with her. We don't need to have other people coming from different areas coming to our backyard. Again, I agree, there are some people who have good intentions and just want to go bike riding and it's nice, but not everyone is that way. And I'm concerned because I have children and grandchildren, and I don't see any good that would come out of it, other than the people whose purpose it would be for, they saying, businesses, the casinos. That's not my interest. My interest is safety first, security for my children, for all the children. It's really family oriented. We have as as much park as we need as possible across the street. In the summer when they can do picnics, the carousels, the playground, you have the bike trails there, you have the walkway, everything. It's beautiful just the way it is. My fear, if we were to have a Queensway with bikes going through the backyards, is that we're inviting people from other neighborhoods to come into our neighborhoods. And that's my biggest fear, because you don't know. The people who are going to stand by security are the people who care about making money for their businesses. They want to think positive, and I understand that. When it comes to business, you want to get as much as you can get. But personally, I don't see any good that's going to come out of it. We have a big problem with the parking as it is, and I just feel that some of the kids that are going to come from some neighborhoods that far Rockaway, it's just going to be easy access without any traffic just to come scooting into the backyards. I don't know. I'm just fearful of that. So my feeling is I'm against the Queensway. Thank you for listening to me.
Dolores Rosado.
We're working on the coffee issue right now, okay. Thanks to Woodhaven Block Association.
You want the microphone?
No, I don't think I need it. I actually have some notes because I have a lot to say in 3 minutes. Friends of Queensway, that this group started about 2 years ago, and today they claim to have over thousands of supporters. They promise many public forums and consultation within the community during the planning process, and that promise has not been kept. Now, for me, it's hard to get enthused over this ambitious 3.5-mile trail that Friends of Queensway continue to compare it with the High Line in Manhattan. Friends of the High Line raise their essential private funds for the 1.4-mile trail, and 90% of its operating costs are covered through private donations. For the last year, we've been asking a few basic questions. Who's going to fund this greenway, and how will it be sustainable over the long term? Who's going to be responsible for the daily maintenance? And more importantly, who is going to be responsible for safety and security? Many of us feel that these issues, or this opposition, should have been part of the $467,000 feasibility study. Crime in the city parks increased 44% this year, and Forest Park had a very high number of serious crimes, which we already discussed. We don't have enough parks patrol officers, and the 102nd Street precinct covers a lot of territory. Why would we want to expand on more open public space? Why would we want to create 55 acres of this new linear parkland? I'd love to know where the thousands of people are that will flock to the Greenway. I walk in the park every morning. I walk around the track. I walk from Woodhaven Boulevard, the paved path, to Metropolitan Avenue and back every morning throughout the year. This time of year, last week, I could really count on both hands how many people I meet up with in the morning. And I'd also like to know where the interest is. I'm sure the buzz is going to go on. Friends of Queensway held 3 workshops recently. They placed hundreds of phone calls and distributed, they distributed 3,000 invitations. How many people attended in total? That's my count, 300. 300 people attended. And many of us feel, like Maria said, we already have our green space and it's Forest Park. 544 acres. Personally, I would love to see improvements on the many existing trails that we have now in our park.
Thank you. Ruben Romales.
How you doing, guys? I've been living here for 25 years. Went to P60, went to MS 210. Then I went to college, and the couple years that I was in college, I would return here, and I feel like I would see new businesses every time I came. I don't know why. I would feel that growing up, I saw Lewis Woodhaven. I saw all these businesses that would stay here for years. And now you see new ones every couple months. I think we owe it to ourselves to have these feasibility studies for the Greenway and for the rails, to kind of see what they have as a proposal. We owe it to ourselves to see what they have to offer, and then only then we can actually see whether one is better than the other, or maybe we should leave it the way it is. As of right now, I support the Greenway because I feel public projects like those bring more money to its context. Woodhaven would be one of them. I feel Forest Park needs more money. And so far they haven't put enough money into it. I think it could benefit from it. I think we could have more money for our precinct. I just think they would bring the project would bring more people into the neighborhood, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think we should be proud of exposing Woodhaven to other people, other residents in New York, in Queens, and even outsiders coming in. I think they should be able to be exposed to this. Thank you.
All right. Ivan, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Woodhaven Residents Block Association, for the invitation. My name is Ivan Mirakovic. I'm the first vice chair of Community Board 9 currently, for the time being. Back in 2005, I was the chairman of the board, and that's where my neighbor by the way, I live in Richmond Hill, 114th Street. My neighbor, Jordan Sankey, approached the board. He lives on 113th Street, and he had this idea of seeing this old abandoned Rockaway Beach Branch Railway converted into the Rockaway Beach Branch Greenway, a linear bike path. So we, on Community Board 9, jumped on that idea. The vast majority of the board members were for it at the time, and I believe in my heart that most still are. And we coalesced with a lot of other groups from Rego Park and Ozone Park and Forest Hills who had similar ideas. So we coalesced about 2 years ago and formed the Friends of the Queensway. And we think that this feasibility study, which just got started in October of 2013, is a 10-month process. So we're 2 months into it, just barely 2 months into it. And Adam Lubinsky is here from WXY Studios. It's going to be a very methodical process. All those very important safety concerns are important to me as well. I have good friends who live on 98th Street as well. And those are prime concerns: security, safety, and the benefit to the community, or the communities that it surrounds. As a parent, my goal is to give my kids a safe place to ride their bikes, and I'm sure, Woodhaven is a wonderful little village, but it's not a village in a vacuum. It's a village surrounded by other villages with parents and children that deserve a safe place to ride, and I think the Queensway, if it comes to fruition, will bring more attention to the park, positive attention to the park, and more money to the park. So there are hurdles, there are security issues, there are concerns, and that's what the feasibility study is going to explore. And the door is not shut to feedback and involvement and further questions being asked. We're just in the beginning of the process, so I beg your patience and thank you for your attention. And I made it in less than 3 minutes. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ivan. If anyone still has not filled out a card they want to speak, please, they're over there, there's on that table over there. Me. Will you handle the timer for me? You can just make sound effects if you want. Each morning, my wife and I go out and walk on Victory Field next to the Brooklyn Queens Greenway. That's the road that goes through Forest Park, and a big portion of that is closed to car traffic. And we have watched in the mornings as women have jogged and walked using their iPhones and flashlights for light because it is pitch black. For 4 months, we have fought Department of Transportation to get the lights turned on in the morning. And did they fix it? How many of you actually raise your hands if you think Department of Transportation fixed it after 4 months and after being embarrassed on Channel 2 News? No one believes that, and that's because they didn't. It got fixed because of daylight savings time. That's it. How many people are here who sit on Community Board 9? Can you raise your hand? You know, Community Board 9 was quoted a couple of years ago in papers talking about problems on the Brooklyn-Queens Greenway, talking about the sex problems, the drug problems that were going on in there, and they said it had been a problem for 20 years. 20 years. My concern is that we're building a conduit from that directly into our neighborhood. And I asked Community Board 9 and the people involved in the Queensway to use the existing Queensway as your lab experiment. Prove to us that you can solve these problems and get this thing into the model of what you plan to bring into our neighborhood. And I think you'll find a much more receptive community if you can do that. Thank you. Frank Notaro, please.
Thanks for your patience and giving us a chance to speak. I'm with Dominic. I want to tell you very honestly, think about it very seriously, because if we lose the Greenway, as we all seem to be hopping on, it's definitely going to be a railroad. You got Albany going with it, you have the Queens College going with it. This has been going on, I'm in there 45 years. Shortly after that, when they shut the railroad down, I moved in. Eventually, the way they keep pushing it every year, it's like a nightmare that keeps coming back. Eventually, these politicians are going to get in there who are for it, and they're going to get what they want. So the railroad will go in there, because Rockaway is not going to let up on this. The minute we lose the Greenway, I don't want either one, but the minute we lose the Greenway, we will definitely lose the railroad. Without a doubt in my mind, and I'm going to tell you right now, think about it very seriously. What will make your house go down? The railroad or the park with the bikes? I got a feeling the railroad's going to make your house go from 500,000 down to 400,000 in the blink of an eyelash. We're going to have problems with the Greenway? Yeah, but they don't seem to be wanting to let up. And eventually they will get their way. Immediately, because as soon as they get the right politicians in there, just like Obama got the right politicians in there, and he got his plan passed through. He made sure there was enough Democrats in there. That's what they do. Same like with courts. You want to win the court? Keep going to another court. Get to another judge. Get to another judge. This is the way our society stinks. It's just, if you don't get what you want this way, wait till the next one comes in. And eventually you get the judge who'll say, well, yeah, I think you should release him. And it's going to happen over here. You will see a railroad there. Thank you.
Maria Fleischman.
Thank you. My name's Maria Flashman, and my problem is... It's on. No. My problem is the Rosa Parks School. My granddaughters go there, and their playground is right up against the railroad. So who's to say that there won't be any pedophiles looking at these young children, or even into the classrooms, or in our backyards when the kids are in the pool, or playing in their own backyard? We don't know who's going to be on the railroad. We don't know if they're going to be throwing stuff at the kids. We don't know if they're going to be jumping the fence into our yards. My concern is the little kids. especially in the school, the playground. Nobody ever mentioned that, with the playground, the railroad being right up against the school. Thank you.
Gene Lindeman.
Hello, my name is Gene Lindeman, and I live on a house on 98th Street with that railroad behind my house. Years ago, my wife and I stopped by one of my brothers who had a house in Floral Park. There was a railroad, the Long Island Railroad, ran right next to his house. During the day, they would rumble through, and you didn't mind it. It was like the subway on the day. We had to stay overnight one night, and when that train went through, the whole house shook. And I said to my wife, I says, I don't want to live near no railroad. He's retired, and he lives in Delaware today. But outside of that, it's like Frank had said, it will decrease the value of properties, period. It ain't going to make them go up. The Greenway, I say it's not a bad idea, but I've seen all of our parks, and every time there's a problem, it's always, we don't have the money to police. We don't have the parks, the money for the parks to be able to maintain it and keep it up to snuff. And like the other person had said, in the evening, and there's nothing around, the garbage is going to filter through there, whether it's the homeless that look for a place to sleep, the drug addicts who are trying to stay out from under the eye of the police, and it's just going to be a problem. And until, like Frank had said, they can prove that they can back this up and maintain it, I can't see it happening, because they can't maintain what we have now. It's the same thing they're always crying about. But when they need a special project, all of a sudden you have money for it. And that's why I'm against both right now, because they can't prove to me either one is going to benefit us or anybody in the area. Thank you.
Mr. Sherman Kane.
Well, I live in Woodhaven, and I've lived here for about 30 years or so. And I think that the Greenway is a good idea, and it needs to be given enough time for the study to complete and make a rational decision. I don't think we need to attack each other and fight each other. I think we should have a rational process and look at the benefits and the drawbacks. I'm concerned about security, I'm concerned about maintenance, and I think that the ultimate plan has to deal with those issues. I think that the Greenway could benefit our communities significantly. So I think we should try to keep an open mind and wait until all the information is available before we come to a conclusion about this.
All right. I'm not getting a chance to use my sound effects at all. Again, if anyone wants to speak, there are cards up there if you haven't filled one out yet. Maria Concolino.
What I would like to see is a bill passed in regards to with the feasibility study, that they should first survey people who would be affected by a change that would come to their community before we waste taxpayers' money for a feasibility study. Also, I patronize businesses in Ozone Park and was asked to advocate for them, that their businesses would be affected by this Queensway. For example, we have electricians there, we have Blue Lane Car Service there, we also have an auto body shop. And the biggest one that we have there would be affected is Logan Bus Company, who employs over 800 employees, houses 400 buses. They would have to relocate and move 300 of those buses, and about 600 to 700 employees would either lose their job or, have to be relocated. Logan Bus Company, for those who are not familiar, they actually transport special ed children and general ed school children throughout Queens. I'm also going to submit to Ed a petition that a few of the businessmen got signed to stop the Queensway.
Neil Gianelli.
I think I don't need the mic. Thank you. Neil Gianelli, I live on 98th Street. To my neighbors, Dominic and Frank, you're big, like fish. Nobody wants this. This railroad's not going to happen. The MTA doesn't want it. They ran a feasibility study 12 years ago and found that the railroad was unfeasible. Nobody has ever paid for a feasibility study that contradicted their desires. The Friends of the Queensway have taken not $500,000, they only got $500,000 from the state of New York. It's $1.5 million to pay for a feasibility study that's going to say, you know what, the Queensway is feasible. Where is it? The survey of the people who are going to be affected. I offered them a petition. 98% of the people from 98th Street said they didn't want this greenway. They told me it was invalid. Their survey, they called 500 people. 450 of them never heard of the greenway, but 3/4 of them approved of it. I never heard of it, but I like it, by God, because everybody's going to enjoy it. Sin will be eradicated. Crime will disappear, and it will rain beer. There will be no railroad. The MTA doesn't want it. The Reed College study, I keep pounding away at this. I'm waiting for somebody. There are no fish in the feasibility study. The Reed College study, 2003, done for the city of Portland, Oregon. Any house, any private property adjacent to a greenway loses value. Ivan, where are you? Tell me it's not true.
What? Which part?
That it's not true. Oh, no.
All right.
Our property values will go up. Adam, tell me it's not true. Where are all those studies you promised me? Oh, you got all these studies that show that the property values will go up. What you got is $1.5 million. You got the backing of the New York Times editorial board. You got an interstate organization of bankers, lawyers, and realtors known as the Trust for Public Land, and they can't find one lousy study to contradict mine. Took me 45 minutes on the internet to find it. I wrote to the professor who ran the study. She wrote back and she told me, yes, you're using my data correctly. Oh no, says Mark Matzel, out of Brooklyn by way of Alaska. Oh no, he says, we in San Francisco believe that your values will go up. They don't need 98th Street. What they need is a destination. They're going to run those businesses out of business down in Ozone Park. They're going to put in coffee bars. Is that it? Have I done? Because who would bicycle down there from Forest Hills if there wasn't a coffee bar? I did that study, I'm done.
Jim Cocavilla.
All right. My name is James Cocavillo, and I am speaking to you as a resident of Woodhaven, not of the organizations or representing some other group. Everything I heard here tonight is very important. I will tell you that I'm for the Queensway. I will tell you also that the most important thing in anybody's concern here is the safety and the welfare of its residents. It always has been my first. There are concerns. With the Queensway, people are worried about pedophiles, drug dealers, so on and so forth. Right now, that railroad way is secured by fence, okay? I don't hear any of these residents complaining right now of anybody who has interfered with their quality of life, breaking into their apartments or anything of that nature. With that, what makes you think that if this does come about, that you wouldn't have the same security? What makes you think about that they wouldn't be able to close these gates and secure it? Grant you, we all say that they can't secure Forest Park. Well, even though they're not securing Forest Park, they are. Presently, we have them mounted back on weekends. We have undercover there and everything else protecting people. You're talking about people, thousands of people. Queensway will not just benefit the people that are locally there, it will benefit tens of thousands of people, not just for Woodhaven, but for all the communities in all of Queens. I think it would be a positive thing to your merchants. Okay, it may take a little while to catch on. It all depends on what the merchants want to do, how they want to advertise it. Coming back to the most important issue is security. If the people stick together, you can march down onto the 102nd or your politicians or whatever and demand security, demand more police protection. But I don't see anybody doing that with the rape that went on in Forest Park. I don't see anybody doing that with the gangs on that are all around. There's a couple of people that speak up. It takes a while for police to get to it, but they get to it. I really think that this is a positive thing. I really don't see it happening for a number of years, but what I do see is it being positive. And I think the security can be had, especially if the people stay together and make sure that we get the security that we need. Thank you.
Arlene Annunziata.
Hi everyone, my name is Arlene Annunziata. I am a resident of Woodhaven, and it is amazing to me. I did not even know half of the things that I heard here tonight. How can you do a feasibility study when you tell people in Ozone Park, Richmond Hill, Lord knows where, but the people who are affected weren't even notified about that? And I would also like to know who was the good soul that put up $475 million to do a feasibility study when we have so many schools here that can better use that money. We have so many small businesses going out of business because they need that money. And what are we worried about? We're worried about a little minute piece of property. And we are guaranteed pie in the sky for this. We are guaranteed nothing. And we are guaranteed nothing because we never knew about it. I just feel it is a shame, and I think that they want to put a railroad. I think that they want to do a little piece of property when you are infringing on people's rights to live in peace, on people who have been in this neighborhood for 20, 30, 40 years, and not even tell us that this is what you are going to do. How dare you How dare you to do this? This is outrageous to me. I think that we as residents have every right to complain. I think, and don't tell us to go down to the police station. Don't you dare say that to us. Our community organizations have done more picketing, have done more than any other board in here. Forget that Board 9. We have done more things. We went picketing for firehouses. How dare you to say that to us? We should be commended for the type of work that we do. We should be commended for the organizations that we have here. We should be commended instead of ostracized by people who don't even live here. How dare you come into our community and tell us that? Don't tell us that we should picket. Don't tell us that we could have good things. I used to go to that park 7 days a week. I was with the Runners Club. I don't go anymore because I was told not to go there. So don't tell me that what I should do in my community. Thank you.
We're down to a couple cards here. I am told there is coffee now. Down a couple cards. So again, if you want to speak, time's running short. Means I'm going to end up in years again. I want to take a picture of me. Joseph Rauder. Joseph Howard.
Good evening. I'm one of those people from one of those neighborhoods. I'm from Ozone Park, and I care about Woodhaven. I know what goes on here. I know what it's like every single day. I see that abandoned Long Island Railroad line when I walk 103rd Avenue. Nothing gets done. I know what it's like. And I know that Queens gets the short end of the stick. Queens is the largest borough in size. The largest borough in size. Do we have the most community boards? No. Brooklyn, which is only 2/3 the size, has more community boards. Manhattan, 26 square miles, has 10 community boards. If we had a community board for every 2.6 square miles, we would have 40 community boards. And people who live in Kew Gardens, and Rego Park, or wherever, would not have any say whatsoever about Woodhaven or Richmond Hill. I complain about Woodhaven, I complain about 103rd Avenue a lot. Traffic speeding and everything. I go to Community Board 10. Betty Brayton tells me, you live on a tertiary street. I go to Community Board 9. You live on a tertiary street. Well, I live on the border of community, I live on that border. And it is the shortcut between, it is the shortcut. If you don't want to get caught behind buses on Liberty Avenue, and trucks on Liberty Avenue, trucks on Liberty Avenue, buses on 101st Avenue, you take 103rd Avenue, and you speed on 103rd Avenue. You don't stop for the lights. You speed on 103rd Avenue. 103rd Avenue is one of the primary streets. Do I hear anything? No. I live on a tertiary street. I care about this neighborhood. I grew up in St. Thomas Apostle. I was baptized there. My parents moved to Ozone Park when I was 2. I know what it's like. I went up on that line. We used to spit from the right down from Atlantic Avenue, try to get the little median before it was white. We used to do that. We had fun up there. And it was in better shape. But something has to be done. Something has to be done. It has to be maintained, first of all. After you maintain it, then, I don't know. I don't know what's best. The people of Woodhaven know what's best. All I know is I want something done. It has to be cleaned up. Down in Ozone Park, the cops have to park on the sidewalks, that little park on Liberty Avenue. Tear it down from Rockaway Boulevard to 101st. Let the cops park there. Let the fire department park there in that one area. Tear it down so people can walk on the sidewalks. That's where I live. That's what I know. I know my neighborhood. I'm not that familiar with your neighborhood. I know mine, and I care about that line. Something has to be done. Thank you.
Thomas Aiello.
How you doing? Tommy Aiello. I live in 98th Street all my life. I got 2 dogs in my backyard. When the community, whoever was doing the research, my dogs broke down my gate. They wanted to go up there and eat the people. Okay? It's not funny. Because what if some little kid was walking up there? My dogs got up there. You know? I don't think it's right what's going on with all this stuff. I think what should be done is, it should be started from actually Park Lane South. Where they're going to go all the way to Liberty Avenue where it stops and then turn around and shoot back the other way? Why does it have to go to Liberty Avenue? Like the lady or the gentleman said, Logan Bus Company is going to have to relocate. Why are they going to have to relocate? Leave them where they are, start off from Park Lane South. Let's have it by the buildings. If you go by Park Lane South and 98th Street, you got the house, the corner house. If you, the park, the railroad is right there. Looks right inside the guy's house. I wouldn't like that in my house. In my backyard. Also, the money, like you said, the money. We got money. You're closing down schools, you're closing down hospitals, you're spending all this money for what? To put a park, to put a walkway? You want to walk on the street, walk on the sidewalk. You don't have to walk up on a parkway or a walkway or Queensway. You know, so that's my idea. Let's keep it closed in the way it should be. Closed. Thank you.
Alex Blanken's up.
I'm speaking in my personal capacity as someone who's lived a block away from the railroad lines his entire life. I'm not speaking in any other capacity here. I'm going to reiterate a couple of concerns and expand on some that were already stated. First, I think security is of utmost priority, and it needs to be, regardless of what happens here, whether we turn it into a park, railway lines, leave it as is. Security is the top priority. I sincerely hope that the feasibility study has a very thorough plan for ensuring that this remains totally secure. I don't think that there's any debate. I think everyone in this room agrees on that point, and it's good to have some common ground when we otherwise disagree on a lot of stuff. I do have some concerns, however, about the idea of expanding the amount of parkland when we haven't already secured the parkland we have right now. We have a Brooklyn-Queens Greenway. I thought Ed's idea of using that as a sort of trial run, as an experiment, was a brilliant idea. I don't see why we should expand our Parkway Greenway when we already have a greenway that's not adequately secured. With all due respect to Mr. Cocavillo, I don't think it's the case that people in Woodhaven haven't been vocal about the need for security. I think at every Woodhaven Residents Block Association town hall, we make a big deal about wanting the 102nd precinct to come, and every single town hall, someone vocalizes some complaint about security. So I respectfully disagree, but I do think that before we add unsecured parkland, we need to secure the parkland we already have. A second concern is parking. Anything that will bring someone to the community should also take into account parking. My mom had to leave because she couldn't find parking around here. She couldn't stay for this forum. I think parking is extremely scarce in Woodhaven, and any feasibility study needs to take into account that scarcity. I also have some concern about the studies that are being done in general. We have the feasibility study for the Queensway. We also have a study that's being commissioned for the railroad. I think it's interesting when Assemblyman Goldfeder says, we're going to have an objective study for the rail line, which is great because this will help us get the rail line. I think it's also a little weird when we have a feasibility study when there's zero chance that the feasibility study is going to say, nope, it's not feasible. It will impose too big a burden on the people who live right next to the rail line. Therefore, it's not feasible. So I have some concern about the validity of these studies, and I hope that somehow the Queensway feasibility study takes that concern into account and shows how they have taken into account the concerns of Neil and the other residents of 98th Street. Two other quick things. One, I don't see why we need to take this entire strip of land all at once. I don't see why we can't do it on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. For example, we could do the Kew Gardens part first. If everyone in Kew Gardens is in favor of this being turned into a Queensway, do that part first. Let's see how it works. That would give us a clear idea. If it's such a wonderful thing, the people of Woodhaven will see how it's working for the people of Kew Gardens. We'll say, this is great. You know what? I'm persuaded. Bring it to Woodhaven. If the people want the rail line to come all the way up from the Rockaways, the people of Ozone Park should say, yes, we support the rail line. Let's bring it up to Atlantic and see how it works there. I just don't see why we have to do the whole thing. Thanks for your time.
It's tough to cut somebody off after they say you're brilliant. Steve Forte.
My thoughts on this whole Greenway thing originally were, why do I even care? I mean, it's not going to be on my block. Probably won't affect me on my block. But when I look at it more from a neighborhood responsibility position, there are a lot of questions that are up in the air that no one's giving us answers for. In fact, I think we're being hoodwinked totally with the entire process. The feasibility study for a greenway is for how to do a greenway, not whether or not we should do a greenway. That's the biggest question that nobody's answering and nobody's looking into. Do we have to have one? Is it the best thing for our neighborhood? And is it a bad thing, possibly? But nobody wants to look at that. And when you ask a question about anything, and I found this out at the Greenway People's Workshop, the one they had a few weeks ago, all we get is runaround. One of the big questions that was asked that we still do not get an answer was, who makes the final decision? And everybody, they just push it aside, and we're not allowed to know that. Which basically tells me they know who it is, and something's being done under the table and we don't know about it. All right? The other thing, what's it going to cost and who's going to pay for this? Nobody's telling you that either. This is obviously going to be, if it goes through as a rail line or the Greenway, whatever happens, you're talking probably over $1 billion here. Is that going to be a bond issue that the taxpayers are going to have to pay? And why should we? Just because people from Rockaway, let's say, want an easier way to get into town? Number one. Number two, you have the railroad come in through there. What's going to happen to parking? Commuter parking, when they see a new railroad junction coming in, they're going to all be coming into Woodhaven, park their cars to get on the train to go into the city. We don't need that. We don't have any parking now for ourselves, as other people have already said. And then the final thing that still keeps going through my mind is, even once it's built, who's going to maintain this? Who's going to pay to maintain this? You don't think the city's going to do it and not raise your taxes, because the money doesn't grow on trees, at least not in New York. All right? So we're going to have to pay for this in the future. And why should we have to pay for people to come into our neighborhood to take up our parking so that they can walk through a park? I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous, the whole thing. That's all I got to say on it.
Last chance to fill out a card to speak. Well, this is very much the last chance. Christine Barbour. Wearing one of our beautiful Woodhaven 11421 t-shirts, which you will be able to buy this weekend at St. Thomas's Flea Market. Thank you.
This is mainly now piggybacking on Steve's point about who's going to pay for all of this. Governor Cuomo was more than happy to send down the $467,000 for a feasibility study because it was for the Greenway. And the Greenway is a city unit. It's not a state unit. If we have railroads put in, if it's anything mechanical, the state is going to have to pay for that. He does not want that on his books. So we can all be stuck with the Greenway if that should happen. And we will also be stuck with much higher taxes. Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, that was our last speaker that signed up. I want to thank you all for coming out. We encourage you. We have coffee hold on a second.
Yes, we do.
have-
And we have
this is the end of the
donuts.
You have a petition in the back, there's a petition in the back, but that's the end of the public forum. We have coffee in the back. What I'm gonna ask people to do is something that I think people should do a lot more of, and that's talk to one another. You've heard what people have said in here. Go up to them, talk to them, people you agree with, people you disagree with. We had two of the folks from who've been working with the Queensway. Helen, where are you? There you go. Helen and Alex that came here, Rowanets that came because they wanted to hear what you guys have to say. You know, go up to people that you agree with, that you disagree with, speak to them, talk to them, and that's all. I want to thank you all for coming. No, that's it. That's the public forum. Speak to each other. Thank you.
Welcome to come and spend the petitions with